Whew, I am exhausted. As you can see, there's a lot of dry limbs, a lot of fallen limbs all in here, all kinds of stuff along the property line. Guys, we live in the city, but we have 0.69 of an acre, so a lot of it was tree lined because originally all of these city lots were just one big lot, and it was basically the woods. Now, it's a small town, but it's growing quite rapidly, and as many of you know, we don't live here full-time. We stay a lot out of town because my husband works out of town several hours from here. My parents are buying this property. They are currently staying here, and we are clearing it out, but also we garden here still. And so we help tend the gardens and harvest and everything else. We're teaching our children and my siblings to do the same, but there's still a lot to be cleaned up. So we've been kind of working on that. Tomorrow's my sister's birthday, so we're in town to hang out with her. Plus we were getting rid of a vehicle and getting a new truck. So all of that combined, we just decided to spend the holiday weekend down here. And I was like, well, while we're here, my husband and I decided to clean up. We're cleaning up the garden, getting rid of some stumps, burning them out, cutting down anything that needs to be cut down. But over here, where all these trees used to be, they've fallen down due to water damage and everything else. There is a lot going on. I've moved some stumps out of here throughout the day, so you can see where the stumps were. This is just crazy because all the dry grass growed in. It's really a fire hazard during the driest parts of the year. And so all of these sticks also have to go. We definitely don't want to risk anything catching fire. A long time ago, one of our neighbors they were burning some stuff in their yard and accidentally set one of our really old utility trailers on fire. Luckily, we had to replace all the wood anyways, and it didn't get out of hand before we noticed. But we don't want that to happen back here in this area. So what we're trying to do is clear all of this dead, dry tree debris out. Now, some of it's really wet because we've had so much rain, but it's still dry enough to be an issue, plus poison ivy and everything else growing on it. It's just yucky. So that's kind of what we're doing today, is getting rid of all of that slowly but surely and seeing if we can't clear some of this up. I don't know what we're going to do with all this giant piping yet. We thought about making some stuff with it. My husband thought about making some grow beds, but I feel really weird about using it for that. But who really knows what to do with it? I have no idea. But the main thing is just cleaning all of this out. And we've also been working on clearing out all the stuff near the garden too, slowly but surely. So overall, this is just a lot of stuff that has to be done. And currently, one of my parents is working a turnaround, so he is crazy busy doing that. And so, you know, it's just kind of us taking care of all of this at the moment. When he's off, he does a whole lot of help around the house in the yard, but when you're working so many hours and 6-7 days a week, it's really hard to do all of this by yourself. So it's kind of nice to have that family unit. It's not always easy. It does get kind of crazy having so many of us, especially so many kids. They can make you a little crazy, but you get it going well enough and you get a bunch of motivated preteens and teenagers, and you can get a lot accomplished. So right now my little sister's been volunteering to help, and we've managed to clear a lot of this out. The boys were helping last night. So this is what's left. It still looks like a lot, but it is a lot less than it was. Yesterday we cleared out a lot more, but you can see there's still a lot of poison ivy growing all in here, especially in there. So we really need to be careful, not just about who touches it, but who's around when we burn it, because people who are really sensitive to this stuff, the sap can burn and it can get in your lungs, and that's really scary. So we need to be careful about that. But overall, we've cleared out a lot of space. All of this has been cleared out pretty good. I keep thinking like, okay, I'll make a video and everything's going to be done, but it is taking so much longer than I had ever anticipated. It was way worse than I thought it was. So all of this has been cleaned out. That's when we bagged all that debris up, threw it in the trash, cleared all this out, the old composting areas. And then all of this is mostly cleared out. It's mostly just grass right in here. So we're about to come in and rake it out and some smaller sticks. And then this is the main portion of all the bigger stuff. So once that gets cleared out, it's gonna make a pretty big difference in gardening space because it'll clear out all this. Although I don't know if we're gonna use this all for gardening or if it's just going to be an area where we can put a little play area and let the kids hang out and seats and everything else and just expand the garden in different directions. That way the kids can kind of be in the garden area near everything while we're working. That would be really cool because with everyone working out of town, we really need to utilize as many weekends as possible to get everything done. So if we can get it to where everything grows during the week and it's mulched in where it can basically take care of itself, and then the weekend we do all of our harvesting and preserving, that would actually make life a lot easier. So I think that's kind of what we're going to focus on doing. I'm being told by my husband that I need to slow down because I'm too red and I don't need to have another heat stroke. Of course, it's not 106-degree weather with us moving now either, but I'm going to slow down a little bit because I am out of breath. So you can definitely tell the difference here. Most of this pile is pretty much gone. And the crazy thing is we still have, it's only what, 1 o'clock, if that, and we still have the entire day tomorrow that we can get stuff done. So I'm excited by how much is getting done over 1 weekend, but it really is a sizable amount of work. I thought it would be done so much faster, and I definitely underestimated what we had to do. But the cool thing is, this is pretty much it. Right here, this section is all little stuff now. All the big branches are gone, all the logs are in fires. So this is it. There's a lot of poison ivy in this though, so that sucks. Just grab the rake and probably pull out all of these big logs, which are actually just really small branch, good sized branches, not even logs. And then once this gets burnt down, which I'll wait for some of the big logs to burn down so the fire's not so hot, and put these in because these are going to go up really fast. And then all of this can be raked out, and once all the big debris that could damage the little push mower is out of the way, I'll take the push mower, or my husband will, one of us will take this push mower and we will go over the top of everything and cut all of this down and make sure it's nice and cleared out. And then this will just be a big additional pathway area around the cabin and a place to hang out. So it's really cool because then the kids can hang out in the cabin and do their thing, and they can also come outside and hang out with us. And I need to see what my parents are going to do. Originally the plan was to add, just how these beds are here, add 2 or 3 more beds for blackberries, but we want an area where the kids can play, but we don't want them too close to the road. So it's looking like a table and chairs, maybe a patio area right here would be the best option, and then maybe a pergola or something on the other side of the cabin. Just make a nice awning and we can sit over there. Maybe do a little outdoor kitchen, which would be really cool, so that we can just hang out in the garden area, cook, let the kids play and garden. It kind of brings some excitement to the garden because it gets really boring out here working alone, talking to myself basically. Wow, I garden. One thing I do enjoy about filming is at least it brings some excitement, some other people's opinions, and adds value to the conversation and what I'm doing, which is kind of nice. So this is all right here. This area I actually had some compost in it. I shoveled all of this out and threw it over here into this bed, which is a complete mess. Just threw it on top of everything. And I do this a lot with the shavings. I will use it either as the bottom layer or as mulch for whatever I'm growing. And then it'll break down over the course of one season. It's already pretty broken down, just pine shavings. And the chickens bedding and small chicks, and then it breaks down and it's really great. So over here is where I've kind of been throwing all of it. You can see all of it's just kind of piled in here, and then I'll spread it all out, which is really cool. And then we'll finish laying the cardboard out, get it straightened up, fill all this up, and probably put some topsoil on top of it. It'll give us a whole new bed. These are 4 foot wide and 16 feet long all the way to the end. You can see it's just random cardboard, but it's not even filled properly yet. But the cardboard will move a lot. As I lay more shavings down and then spray it down with water, it'll hold the cardboard down so I can get it all completely covered without having to worry about it showing the grass underneath it. So that's what you're seeing, is just kind of the slow process of it happening a little at a time. And then it'll be nice. Like I said, these are 4 foot wide, 16 feet long. You can grow a lot in here. We really like kales and things like that. They store well. You can dehydrate them. You can crunch them up and add them to anything. So that's really, I think, what we're going to focus on. I'm sorry about the loud vacuuming. He's back there cleaning out his truck right now. Okay, I'm trying to avoid some of the noise, but there's still going to be a lot of noise with the vacuum going. But I stepped way back here. I'm just going to slowly zoom in so you can see what's going on here. So over here by this garden bed, what we did is, in the front we had 2 loquat bushes that I've been growing for a couple of years, but they just suddenly died out of nowhere. Well, I went ahead, I've waited to see if either one would come back. One started to, but then quickly died again. And so I was like, something's wrong. I pulled both of them out. The roots had basically been completely eaten off. They were full of ants. So I went ahead and pulled those out. Well, these 2 containers, these rectangles, were what was around those loquats. So I brought them over here, and then there are 2 2x4s on the ground over here. Those were also in the front. So my sister and I grabbed those and those 4 bricks, and that will be another garden bed once we kind of clean up this area and figure out where to add them. And I'm thinking somehow these 4 posts, they were part of this lettuce bed right here, which I actually made a video about, where we transplanted, cleaned out the weeds for the most part. There's still some weeds in it for sure. And transplanted some lettuce. One had volunteered, and then let my little sister seed the lettuce out, and we'll, as they pop up, we'll move them around and transplant them so they're the proper spacing. But we took those posts out of this bed and just threw them on the ground over here next to all this other stuff. And as we clean out this entire area, we'll decide exactly where to put those. But we can probably trellis up some peas, use some kind of string or twine and create a trellis so that we can trellis up some peas. It's a good time to grow peas up until February, when it gets really cold all of a sudden. But right now, even though we have some cold weather and getting close to freezing weather, we'll probably be okay growing some peas, especially some cool resistant peas. So that would be really good to do with these posts and some of these beds. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I may use some of these logs that are over here on the ground, kind of over in this area. They're just hanging out there. And so put everything together, and that will give us a lot more garden space, which is something we definitely want. So slowly but surely you're kind of seeing the garden area come together. It's not perfect because we don't have the money to just go out and buy a bunch of pretty uniform beds. Maybe we will later in, or the beginning of next year, when like income tax, things like that, saving up over the year for chunks of it. But right now we just don't have it. So the best thing to do, instead of spending all of that money, is use what we do have. So for us, that's these trees and some of this garden beds from other things that just didn't work out. And then there's actually a couple things in the back that I want to bring up here that I think would also be really good. Okay, so I'm in the back and everything's kind of a mess still. There's a lot going on back here. But let me zoom out a little bit. So this dog kennel is not one of those things, but all this little fencing I think would be really good for the smaller peas. I have some peas that only get to be about 2 feet tall. I also have some cucumbers that don't get very big, so I think this trellising will be good for that. Just a temporary trellising for the peas, and maybe I can make it work with some of that other trellising. This was what separated the compost area from the rest of the chicken area, but we actually took it out about a week ago now. This was also in the chicken area, and it had been for a while, but this is where the passion fruit used to grow. The chickens have been getting in and scratching it out. The passion fruit vine froze last year. We had a really, really cold weather. It took it out for sure, out of nowhere, after having a substantially warmer winter. And so this died. I'm going to put some good use in. I'll probably add some more compost in it and then add some plants in it. And then this is another thing we could potentially grow peas or something in and let them climb up, maybe do a TP type trellising system, let them climb up that. That would be really cool. It'd be good for shell peas because we just leave it alone. Or also you could actually probably grow several kale plants in here, or grow some carrots if you wanted some deeper soil, especially potty type carrots. So there are a lot of options right here. And then I also have this, which is part of the barrel that I took down. So this is another thing that can be put out in the garden. So it gets a lot of growing space out of nowhere, just kind of coming around, coming to life, which is really cool. So I'm so excited to see the garden growing and expanding and what we can do in what is usually considered off-season for winter. But for me, it's the most motivating time of year because I get so easily overheated during the summer. The summers are so brutal. I don't like working that hard in the heat. So for me, winter is the best growing season there is. If you're in Southeast Texas, grow in the winter if you can. It is so much fun. It is so nice to be able to get out in this weather and work without getting overheated and get some stuff done and actually see some production in what many would consider, frankly, the off season, or one of the more depressing times of the year, because a lot of people are not motivated. It's dark, it's gloomy, the weather's weird. Why not bring some life into it? Alright, so I'm back here checking up on the logs again. A lot of them have burned down kind of in the center right here. It's actually really warm, so try not to get too close. So you can see this was a stump that we cut down in the front yard a while back and just been kind of hanging out here. So it actually, what killed this tree was fire ants, and they were pretty bad. So if you notice the theme, but also because the amount of water that gets held here, it's really hard to treat for ants because it has to be dry, it has to go so long without rain, so it's kind of a hot mess trying to do so. Fire ants are really bad, and I've tried so many natural treatments, all the things people say to try, it just isn't working. And the thing about fire ants is they can float on water. When it rains, they'll just pick up and move their nest. So it becomes, it's just rough, especially when you have kids in your gardening and you're not spraying a whole lot. You'll definitely notice them. Look how fast it picks back up again. So when it tends to burn down like this, and it's just the small stuff that once you push it all together and rekindle it, it catches really easily. I like to try and get some bigger logs back in there just to really keep it hot and let the big stuff burn down, so it's not just going up really fast, really hot, and then nothing. That way I can burn more for longer and get a lot more stuff cleared out. So that's kind of what I'm doing. This log is broken down a bit, so I know some of y'all are probably like, girl, that's not safe. It may not be, you know, me moving around in the fire, but that's why I'm the one doing it, and none of the kids or any of that. So I paused it a minute because I didn't want to try to handle the camera and add stuff or move stuff around. So I kind of moved everything inwards, piled it up around the stump, and just slowly bringing it inwards. There's some leaves on the ground. I'm gonna go ahead and rake around them a little bit. I just don't want to catch anything too much, but definitely want to keep this going. And it's really nice to... I'm tired again. It's nice to be able to clear up the yard for sure.